10:30, but I think I got the note like 10:35. He's leaving Indianapolis. Like, unless he's speeding. Yeah, yeah. We're not paying any speeding tickets.
Yeah,
He's out here, so. Rick Lee can't be here. He's made 1 out of 8. He made the time he got sworn in.
right, but that's some sort of physical.
Yeah, like, something happened with his second wife or something.
Oh,
She
listen,
passed
no, no.
away or something. I think, but then someone thought that a year ago that maybe his first wife. So there's some. I don't know. I'm never going to ask. Yeah, exactly.
No matter which way you go.
John Michaels can be late.
Okay.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. It's 11:02. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda of the minutes of the last meeting. Do I have a motion to accept those?
I'll make a motion to accept the 2023 meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Suzanne. All right. Any further discussion about them? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda, we've got the financial reports. And we've got a new set again. So we now have the TIF districts. Then we got Lexington Village, which is the residential TIF, and then we've got a new collection, which we'll go through some of the pages with you, which is the non-TIF district funds, and that's where it was suggested to Baker Tilly that we have two things happening. You got the program through the city council for things such as the new building fund, the sidewalk fund, and the facade or exterior improvement fund. Those are all outside of the other stuff, and they come through because in those cases, we're giving some money to somebody, a business, on their facade or their sidewalk, shared program, but it's not that way. You're not using taxpayer dollars, comes through seeded, around and around and around. Anyway, and then we also have the non-TIF fund, which is going to be the where the interest we earn will be in there. The farmland interest from Chase Davis will be in there. So we'll go back through that. We've got one thing of note. John Michael, before he's sitting back, mentioned I hadn't finished this one account, which we've not. On the combined account, I was waiting for a definition on what was the, we had a $9,900 payment, and I didn't have that, so I did not finish my normal balancing there. I don't have the interest listed on that, and that amount of money for that interest is, hold on. I didn't write it down. Anyway, so there was about $2,400 in interest on the consolidated TIF fund, and so that was one I just did not. I was waiting to get the final stuff, and so my last balance did not happen there. Okay, Lexington Village, about the same. We had some payments, some bond payments happening there. Probably, I don't know if we can, Dwayne, do you think we can actually vote to accept all financial statements, or do we need to, or should we do each one separately, since they're line items separately, or?
You can do them as one if you want. That's fine.
put all three of them together or
Yeah,
whatever.
if you're all in agreement with one.
Okay, all right. Okay, so now let's buzz, while we're on this, let's go back to the non-TIF, which you just see that that's there. We also I've got the budget in there. Starting in 2025, the State Board of Accounts / gods of TIFs are going to require to have us have a plan, basically a budget, but you can't go over your budget. So we're going to have to budget above what we think we're going to spend, and so putting the budget together. It's going to get a little bit interesting here. Now we're breaking things apart. Like we've got things to say, okay, here's infrastructure money, here is economic development money, here is exterior improvement money, here is key building program, all those different things. Since we're going to have the TIF and the non-TIF, they're both going to be using the same stuff, and you'll be for budget. So there's going to be a summary page for each, and then at some point in time, we're going to have the budget actually come back and tie it all together. And I don't know how it'll be. So the interest will be coming out of the funds, going to the discretionary fund or the non-TIF fund, and we'll have to track that. We'll have to decide at some point if we want that done. And Dwayne, you can think about that too, whether you want to have us move the interest from those things every month, or the way we want to do it quarterly, or by twice a year or once a year, or whatever. So you can think about that. Okay, if we go back a little further, let's go look at the new sheets. Let's pass Lexington Village. Okay, at the top, it's called the City of Logan's Revolving Fund Program. And last month, we had a motion to move the money to that, which is $195,100. Looks like this might go to the City Council. I don't see us having any interest coming back, because it's going to be just part of their normal funds, so I don't see that we're going to give that up. And then deposit-wise, I assume we'll only do this once a year, refill the bucket as it would be. But I left some space there in case we need to add money, in a certain quarter or whatever. From there on out, it'll look the same as everything else we have. Basically, in this will be your sidewalk fund, your exterior improvements fund, and your key building fund will all be in here. Will also be anything else that sometimes when we touch into something good for the community that's not necessarily, that is on somebody's property or things like that. So there'll be various things in here, but this will be where a lot of the activity will be. I will then have this one have the breakdown we normally have, which those different funds will be here. And I say then we will later on merge it all back together to see what happens to that. Okay, the next page is the one called the general fund, and that's basically going to be interest and farmland rent. The Chase Davis property, we received a check for $11,412.50, and that was the farm rent for the crops using that field. And we'll continue to have that kind of income happening until any kind of development starts out there. So that's also going to be part of this general fund, which is to say it's going to be money that Baker Tilly is kind of defined as money that's not coming directly from taxpayers. So that'll be a separate fund there. Again, I've added behind that next thing, then I've added all this budget stuff. And I say I've not combined, since we have no activity there yet. At some point in time, we'll have that added. There'll be a separate page for each of these, basically the checkbook. So for each of these funds that are things we've talked about as headers, they'll have their own breakdown as to what everything is there. And then we'll have, a summary then of those that says, okay, what's the budget for all that? So then we'll have to kind of break that down by each group. But I've not added the pages yet for the two new funds, because I say I don't know how that's exactly going to work. So by next meeting, we should have that all kind of settled down. Any questions about any of that? We're kind of flying blind because we're getting some mandates changes, and so we're trying to accommodate that. And so roughly same format as you're used to before. We'll still have expenses and things that have been approved. So, once we approve something, that goes into the pending numbers, but there will be, I've kind of separated to where you've got TIF funds, non-TIF funds, and then the residential TIF, which is kind of a different deal too, because, since we have, the interesting question would be in some cases, when we start breaking these things down, like the TIF funds, we say, okay, take a certain percentage from the industrial park, take so much from downtown, so much from the consolidated district. Are we going to also want to combine the general fund, those, it'll be more complicated if we go. I think I would recommend we stick with just the TIF funds to support that stuff, and don't try to commingle those two things. But it can be done if we decide we need to do it that way. All right. I will then make a motion that we will accept the financial report for July of 2023 for both the TIF districts, Lexington Village, and the non-TIF district funds, and also, I guess, the budget, just information. Is there a second to accept those?
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Now moving on. At the last meeting, I apologize for not being able to be here. You guys had the Nest downtown, and we had originally given them out of our exterior program, gave them some money there, and then they had some hardships based on it, which I guess you're all aware of, but hardships based on the fact that limestone fell off of the gray mill, and they had to put scaffolding up in front of their business, and so their customers couldn't come in that direction. So last month, you guys gave them some more money to help them to get that exterior looking good, and I drove by there yesterday. It looks great. So there was a new resolution to add the extra money on, which was, oops, that's not right. It says 2022-34, but it's actually 2023-34. Sorry about that. That's just on the agenda, I guess. So anyway, I'll make basically it's what you guys voted for last month. We did not have the resolution in place at that time. So I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2023-334 for the Nest exterior improvements. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion or questions? All right. All those in favor signify by sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The resolution passes. Okay, moving on to new business. Okay, we'll start with resolution 2023-335, F&K. Bill, do you want to lead us through all these, or do you want me just to?
This is their submission for payment. We meet with them every couple weeks. Me, Aaron, Jacob, and we bring in the North Central Planning Commission. I forget the acronym. They're there because the procurement process, because this is ready funds. And Ross joins us from Dwayne's office. They're very organized and thorough, and pictures, and there hasn't been any issues to our knowledge, so this is a submission for payment.
All right. This is Lexington Village, by the way.
Oh, Lexington Village.
If you didn't realize that. All right. I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2023-335 for the payment of F&K Construction in not to exceed $686,307.55. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 4-0. All right. Next resolution is 2023-336. This is,
This is a combination of things. When we have a contract with F&K Construction that the RDC signed for $3,314,203, we have available funds, which we thought was going to be enough before we signed that contract, of $3,100,244, and that's a combination of $1.5 million ready money and 1.6 and $244 of the TIF bond. So we know we'll be short. This is, we had a guesstimate of 3.1. We thought it would be enough when we started, but stuff went up, stuff got expensive. It was above our engineer estimates. So when it comes in, we know we're going to be $213 and $959 short, and that's with the assumption nothing will go wrong. The only thing that's gone wrong, it's nobody's fault other than maybe the locate company. There was a cable from Comcast that was not located, so they didn't put it in their bid, and it has to be moved. It has to be relocated, and that's already been done. It goes alongside the movie theater. So that was $5,800. That change order is included in the $213,959.
you got a copy, there's a copy of that in here that.
Correct. When it comes to your budget, your overall RDC budget, you have where we could spend down reserves strategically over the next number of years, so you're not left with a big pot of money when these TIFs expire. And that's calculated in your budget. So in the budget we have available $392,127 for things like this. So it is in the budget. And then if you strategically break it down between the different districts, that's where we got the breakdown to get to that $213,959. I don't anticipate this money needing and being spent till next year, but if they happen to move faster and quicker, and we don't want to be sitting around without having this ready, so that's my request.
This will not be a check we'll write soon. It's going to sit out there and wait for them to finish the project off. And all right. I'll make a motion to accept Resolution 223-336 for F&K Construction in the amount of $213,959, broken down into the 3 TIF districts: $128,375 for the industrial park, $51,350 for the consolidated district, and $34,234 for the downtown district. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions?
I know it's not a lot of money, the $5,800, but was that line in a private easement or was it in a road right away?
It wasn't in an easement, it was just in the land. It wasn't by the right of way, it was between the theater and the land we're developing. And there was no easement there, so they just ran it, thinking they were maybe on the theater side.
But then they should have done it on their dime.
It was hard to get them to come out.
Huh.
We had Comcast.
I know.
It was gonna delay things about 4 weeks on, it would have stopped the entire stormwater build out, basically, on that.
Yeah. That's what, I mean, I said, it's a small portion of it. I just know that, if it's in a private easement, then somebody else has to pay for it. But if it's not, they shouldn't have done it.
And it's in our mind because we're looking to negotiate and deal with who will be the communications provider for that area, because we have these trenches, and we're talking with Comcast and Frontier and another one, so yeah, it's
They'll know they owe us one.
Remember that all.
They owe us more than one.
You have too long of a history, Bob.
And
All right, so all in favor signify by sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion 2023-36 passes. All right, next is 2023-37.
We've been working for a while with, to come up with a developer agreement for Lexington Village. This is for the housing piece, not the infrastructure. If you remember last month, we had a lengthy discussion. We had myself, Kelly Lehman spoke about it, and it's complicated enough that we discussed we need to move this to an attorney firm that deals with this more regularly. So we have, actually I got the draft yesterday, so I'm going through the draft. It's already completed. That's kind of the last piece with our housing developer, to announce them and move all the marketing to them and all the inquiries I'm getting from people that want homes out there. I can move that to them. So there's a lot of points in the agreement that we're wanting to hit, common areas and are other developers allowed, and if so, how does that work? So how does the property get conveyed, when it gets conveyed, what kind of a timeline do they have to get things done? Does the property come back to us if they don't do it after certain? There's a lot going on, and I can get that draft to you guys. But we are moving fast now, which is good. And their request, Bose McKinney and Evans, we work with Dennis Otten. Their guesstimate will be no more than $5,000 for this agreement.
All right. I'll make a motion to accept Resolution 2023-337, the amount not to exceed $5,000 to be paid to Bose McKinney Evans. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further questions or comments? All right. All those in favor signify by sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Okay. I've got next bill, just a review of the downtown housing RFP.
Last month, we agreed that we need to put a timeline on the developer that won the RFP that you guys awarded. It's been about a year. I don't know the exact dates. It's been a long time. Things have happened since then as far as interest rates and such. He had requested that we order a housing study, which I'll also get that to you. We just got it back. And we agreed last month that that should set his clock to do something one way or the other. So that has been forwarded to him on August 16th. I would suggest that we give him until your next meeting, which would be September 27th, to have a significant progress or commitment towards moving forward. We can then move off of him if he doesn't move forward, and then we can negotiate with whoever, because we've been through the RFP process.
Is there any other interest out there, do you know of, or?
Not that I've been direct, well,
But they didn't think it's available. I mean,
that.
it's been awarded.
I don't,
Right,
correct.
yeah.
People think that we've moved on, and maybe we have, but we need to officially know something soon, so I know where to go with this.
So what did the housing study say?
A bazillion things. It'd be easier just to get it to you. My quick summary of it for that area is the cash flows needed for the rent range that he submitted initially shows that it would support that locally.
What is that range?
There were condos, there was single family, there was different districts throughout the city. I think in that area, it said that it could handle new construction. I think it was in the $1.35 per square foot range. And if I recall, his projections were around that. But we looked at 3 rental, not per.
No, I was just going to say, did I send that to you guys? No?
I don't think you have it, do you?
I got it from somebody.
Okay.
So I'll
Then
forward it.
it's Mike's fault
I
then.
meant, well, because I was going to, the packet was about 3/4 inch thick, so I decided I was going to just send it to you rather than put it in the packet, and must have
It's
forgotten.
interesting information. It's the Ivy Tech area. It's the Chase Davis kind of area, and then it's downtown. And it gives you single-family homes, townhouses, condos, it gives you rental and sales.
You have it?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I thought I did, sorry. I'm getting old, you know? So, yeah, I just got it a week or so ago from somebody, I don't know who it was, but
Oz.
yeah, magically appeared. It's interesting stuff. I mean, I don't know how they determine all that. I mean, like townhouses and stuff, how they determine how many townhouses would be desired in Logansport. I'm thinking, you know, how do you get that number? And I suppose they have some kind of experience ratio of, you know, what the needs are and that kind of stuff. But it's very interesting, but thick. Okay, so that's just for information. The next thing on the agenda is petition for the consent and annexation in the city of Logansport.
Can we, it's your committee, but I would like to have a date on record that where that RFP is no longer valid, the awarding of
Oh, okay.
is no longer valid,
Okay, so
September 27th.
I'll make a motion that the RFP for the land we call the farmer's market for a potential apartment complex that was given to, I can't remember the name of the company, that we will that they have been given notice and that we will wait for their decision if they want to go forward until our next meeting date, which is September 27th. And at that point in time, we will release them from that RFP. If they do not respond in a way, well, I guess we'll see what they come back with, I guess. If they have not responded by that date and time, we'll open the process back up again for a new RFP and start the process over. Is there a second? Thank God Dwayne gets us all on tape and he can.
Are you, when you make that motion though, or when you say that they respond, what if they say, hey, I need another few weeks? That's a response.
I would suggest that your meeting on September 27th, you analyze the response and you can accept or deny it at that meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to either move forward, agree to move forward on the 27th, or agree to terminate that on the 27th,
Right.
based upon what's done prior.
Yeah, put that in there. Exactly, that's exactly what I said. And then Dwayne said, all right, so that's the motion. Is there a
All right.
is there a second?
I will second that.
All right. Any further discussion or comments? All right. All those in favor signify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same. The motion passes, or, the petition passes. The motion passes. Okay. Then we've got Resolution 2023-338. I think Aaron's now on.
Petition.
Okay, we made the motion. Now we'll make a motion to accept the petition for the consent and annexation in the city of Logansport. And that's in front of you there. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay. You want to explain what this?
Discussion purposes, yeah. If you recall, when you approved the purchase of Chase Davis, you also approved that you're going to move forward with annexation. We then had to go to city council and get their support for annexation. To make it a super voluntary annexation process, the landowners that exist in the area we're wanting to annex will do a petition to say you want annexed. You're the only landowner. So we have to get petitions from all landowners, which would be you.
That's us.
Once you sign it and approve it, I then will take this with a new ordinance to city council for the next 2 months to get them to officially move forward with the annexation. There's also a fiscal plan that we have to do through Baker Tilly. It's a process. We know all parties are on board. because we've gotten approval, but we need to go through this process. So the next process for you would be to approve and sign the petition, then I will take that to city council.
Okay. All right, so did we?
We have a second.
Yeah, we have a second. Okay, so we got a second. Any further questions, comments? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The petition passes.
You gotta protect it, the ground could actually be broke.
Oh, and that can actually be done. I mean, technically, you could do it tomorrow if you're not waiting to be annexed. I would say the annexation will be done before the end of this fiscal year, 2023.
You have a developer that's wanting to do anything out there.
No, we haven't even gone to that point. The next thing we're trying to do is a site analysis of, is it best just to have residential out there, or is there a mix of commercial? Would that be a good idea? And we're trying to get two proposals for you guys. The first one came in very high and is not being presented today. We're waiting on the second proposal. I don't think,
Who would be doing that?
the names of those, Aaron?
Hey, Harry, can you pull your mic up a little bit, so I gotta be able to hear it, so.
So there are a couple different groups. You would ask me now, I have to go look them up. But we basically looked through the state and saw different master plans that different companies have done to provide not only stakeholders, but the community, neighbors in that area, understanding what can happen there and those type of things. Then providing visuals and also helping us pair up with different developers. Obviously, we could use local, but if we, in case, wanted to have someone help us develop this out, they would look at infrastructure. They would take in all of the things that Bill had done before, so wetlands, the housing study, all of that. So they do all analysis on that to kind of do proposals and look at a couple different proposals and work with those people. I can go pull them up on my phone if you want them now, or I can send them out later who we're looking at. But
I'd send them out later.
yeah, so there's one group we're still waiting on. They should have it to me by next week. So we're hoping to bring that forward to you as discussion of next steps. I basically, Jacob, myself, and Bill had a meeting of, there was someone interested, but it was just like, sell me off this little section. And, you know, we wanted, before we started piecemealing out little sections, to really look at what can it be. You know, is it only going to be housing? Do we want some commercial in there? Is it more of like a village type of feel that some of the outskirts of Indy have? You know, what can we do and what is appropriate for the area? So we felt the best would bring to you guys the next step in doing that, analyzing that, and talking about the vision for that area. So that was kind of us doing some back homework for you to bring forward to you to look at and see if you want to go that route.
This path looks a lot different from Lexington Village, at least that's in our mindset. For Lexington Villages, we are building out everything. This would be more of, get the items in place and organize all the soft costs, taking care of the site plan analysis, geotech work, annexation, hand it over to a developer who we choose, and then it's their baby. So it's a little different approach than we have for Lexington Village.
And something I did bring up when we met was Lexington actually started in 2014, where we purchased the land, then we did a master plan. And then, so it's similar steps. I mean, it takes a while. Obviously, we wanted to be more involved as the city to make sure we got the product we really wanted, so it took longer than just handing it over to a developer initially. But, you know, we did similar steps, I guess, is what I wanted to let you know.
And it's trickier too if this thing is, we don't know how it's going to develop.
Hey, John.
Man, you were right on it, brother. I didn't know you could possibly make it that time, so. I mean, tickets to go. So, you know, this is a little tricky when you have somebody saying, yeah, I want to put a house way here in the back. Now all of a sudden, what's the infrastructure to get there? Is it a gravel road? Is it going to be, you know, do we get?
Yeah,
you
my
know, are you
biggest problem
involved?
is it seems like we've moved slow on some things, and if we're paying this kind of money for this land, I think we move a little bit quicker.
Yeah. The Lexington
Get
was,
something coming in to pay this back.
So far, we're going as fast as possible.
I understand that, but
So far.
exactly.
yeah, Lexington,
There's not-
after they got a plan, there was not really movement, but there was change in administrations that wasn't a high priority. So that was a little bit of it, but this is your land.
We could have
It's
change
city land.
administration again.
I know, but this is your land, not city land.
Gotcha.
So before it was all city land. So it's as fast as you guys want to roll it out, basically.
It's your subcommittee. The roll it out fast committee. Okay. So then we're moving on to resolution 2023-338, which is Aaron's.
Is that approved? Is that for you to sign?
It was
Yes.
approved.
Yeah, and I'll be signing for the board.
I think this is Bill, Jacob, Aaron stuff. I just, there's 3 different properties that we have people looking at or are in the process of needing to do an RFP to move forward. So the first step, as you all know, is the appraisal of the properties before we can do anything with the properties. So I got estimates on these. This would be for the old Jefferson School lot and Patriot Park lot, which I think the park had previously said if they were to relinquish any, that would be one of the areas. And then the track 2 of our Riverside area, so we got track 3 moving forward, now moving into track 2 and that RFP. So for 2 for each site is 8,300.
And you need this no matter what happens.
Yeah, unless we're doing it ourselves, but if we're giving it, selling it to anybody, we have to do this.
Okay.
The legislation that we worked on and got changed was helpful when you're acquiring property but not disposing of it. So now that we own it and we're looking to dispose of it, we have to have these 2 appraisals, whether they're worth 6,000 or 6 million. So to your point, on the piece I'm here for is the parcel just west of what it will be the event center. We want to get done, so when things strike and there's people wanting to do something there, we're not just sitting and wait on 2 appraisals and deeds and all this stuff. So our goal is to have that appraised, be done, do an RFP soon, get that done. If it's a new group, great. If it's not, whatever. But we're getting through all these government hoops now and not a year from now.
And that one, well, all of them, when you do the RFP, they want kind of an estimate of what the land is valued in those RFPs. In the past, they've asked for that. So it also helps in writing those.
I think the appraisers also give us a better price by doing 3 instead
Yeah,
of.
3 together.
Instead of
You
1
get
at
a
a
better
time, we got a
price.
better price to do. Anything was in the hopper or whatever. Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion to accept resolution 2023-338, not to exceed $8,300. And the 2 providers were Don R. Scheit Company and Sheldon Halsinger. Is there a second?
Just real quick, so Sheldon's doing all 3 too, and Donner Scheidt's doing all 3. And he's doing it for 1,100 and they're doing it for 7,200.
Correct. That was my question.
They had the same information. I gave both of them.
Historically, dealing with this in my past career,
Sheldon's
he's
always
always
been low.
been that way, and other people are always that much more expensive no matter who you get.
Yeah.
And it always amazes
Most
me.
of them are more the Dawn group. They're more that price point. Sheldon's always been low. In what I've always done.
Okay. All right,
Regulations
just
on
want to
that
make sure I'm reading this right.
side as far as pricing, but commercial is not. So you can have these numbers all over on commercial, like residential has to be 350
Right.
at least, or whatever it is. So yeah, we could look at others. They've been responsive once we hire and it's a turnaround time. Sheldon's always been like that.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure that he's bidding on the same thing.
Yeah, I gave them the exact same thing.
1/7 of the cost.
His were lower before too.
Those are the two groups that did
Yep,
the events.
okay,
And I think before he was at 1,000 and they were at 35, so.
okay. Okay, all right, just want to make sure.
Very strange. Did we get a second on that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking for a second on Resolution 2023-338. Suzanne seconds. All right. Any further discussion? All right.
Yeah,
all-
I have one.
Yeah.
Didn't we do a appraisal on 800 Ray Street once before?
On the track 3.
Track to the east, right?
Yeah.
There's 3 tracks. They looked at,
Because we have to do it for that track that is for that RFP.
Yeah.
For that.
I was thinking we did the whole thing from,
no, we did when that property was conveyed, or when RDC got the property, and we thought utilities owned it, they occupied it, but they didn't really technically own it. RDC approved a payment to the utilities, and we used guesstimated numbers to come up with that pricing. We looked at the whole thing.
okay,
Maybe that's,
that may be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, we looked at averages throughout the community, the lot size, and kind of did that.
All right. All those in favor signify by sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. All right. Do you guys have any updates that you want to?
just real quick. Thank you on the nest. I think it looks great. Starting to see a domino effect downtown. People fixing up stuff. Right now, I'm working with the gallery on something similar. It's a massive building. So we're working on estimates of what we can do, what we can't do. So hopefully in the near future, we can do about the gallery. Real quick on the event center area, because you're vested in that. Kind of running in some things that we thought we would run into, and then some things we run into that we didn't think we would. Regardless, a lot of stuff underground. We were aware of that, but it's a lot closer to the grade that is needed from the engineers for this parking lot. So we're working through some things. I think it's just fine. The building pad is set. So now the grade is established. It's up there. Now we got to make sure the parking lot works out. There's been a lot of discussion on these pillars. A lot of people want them. We have a plan A, B, and C to keep them and still not lose parking spots. So I'm waiting on an estimate for that, but I think ultimately we're trying to keep them, and whatever spots we lose, relocate those spots closer to the pickleball area, because we've gotten some complaints that there's not enough parking at the pickleball area. So maybe we can get all that fixed in one swoop. So there's a lot of moving parts. I've been down there a lot. They are moving pretty quickly. I'm excited. I'll keep you updated as I know more. There was some change order already where the water tower used to sit. There's some massive concrete foundations that are taking a lot more equipment than thought. So that's being done too. So if you want to see it, go on down there. We're working with Dyken on that, and they've been very good at communication so far.
All right.
So,
Any questions for Bill or Aaron? You got anything else? No? All right. Moving on to public comments. Come on up.
All right, so you guys got the email from the mayor and saw the thread back and forth on the public safety wage discussion. We just wanted to open that up, kind of for discussion with the group, and knowing that Dave was going to be here and Jonathan from the council, just kind of get a feel, since this is a completely new thing as we're going through our budgets. I think we've finally gotten some information about how the revenue is going to work out and how things are going to look for next year. But I think, as a lot of you know as well, we're going to have to do some things with our public safety wages, especially police, based on what the state did. Then the county followed suit, and so there's been a big inflation wave in police, especially salaries, and so we're trying to compete with that, keeping some of our people. We've already, lost one of our best police officers to the county since this. Can't begrudge him. He's going to make more money, and he's still protecting the community. Thankful for that. But I think with the way we're growing and developing, and through the efforts of your board, in a lot of cases, we're going to see more need for strong public safety entities, including police and the fire department. So that's why we wanted to come and see if there would be a way to have the conversation about the Redevelopment Commission picking up some of the slack that we're going to see in public safety wages over the next couple of years especially. And I don't know exactly where the numbers fell out. The numbers that were sent were in the range of basically covering what the proposed increases would be to each department, and it's not apples to apples. The police numbers, I think, are going to have to be bigger just based on competition. But when you look at, I think if you look at the proposal from the fire department and the information that they provided on the comparisons to other departments around the state, and especially in our region, we're pretty far behind, in wages on that piece too. And so just in allowing the city council to have confidence in pushing forward and making sure that people are paid what they deserve, and we don't have an exodus of public safety officials as we're doing so many great things in the community and adding new homes and businesses. I wanted to open that discussion. I don't know that there's necessarily a decision that has to be made today. I can let Jonathan maybe say a little bit more from the council's perspective, or Dave if he has anything. But I wasn't sure if maybe it would be worth even having kind of a study committee with a couple of your members to sit down with maybe the finance committee of the council to look at this specifically. It's just something that we wanted to introduce, because I know we're struggling to figure out how to adequately pay people, and this is an area that just opened up for this amount of funding. So I know it's been a gray area in the past, but the state.
I would say we're the last place everybody comes to when they need money.
Yeah. But the state changed the law for a reason, because they saw this coming, and so it's just something that we're going to have to pay attention to. So that's where I kind of came from. I don't know if you had anything.
No, he pretty much summed it up. With the massive pay raises around the state and everything, we have a good police force and good fire department right now. And with the growth that we're seeing, really don't want to lose anybody else. Chief can talk about retention and also recruitment. We haven't been able to get any experienced officers from other cities, or that might want a smaller city to live in with their family and whatnot for a long time, because we just don't have a competitive package to bring them in. We got to do something, and this is one of the areas where we can kind of come and ask for help. Like if we want to work on a park or something, I don't think you guys can usually help with something like that. But this way, we can kind of partner and keep what we have and hopefully grow it. Make sure the citizens know that they're safe, secure, and we're taking care of them, and just thought we'd start that discussion.
Do you see this as a one-time need, or do you see this as an ongoing need for funding wages?
I think our hope here is just to get some help for maybe at most a couple of years. It's not like a forever kind of thing, just since it's such a big increase in such a short amount of time. We're just trying to offset the cost of the city immediately while we figure out a way to make it work over time.
So how do you get more money then? 2 years from now, we give you the money. How do you get more money 2 years from now? You're going to come back to us and ask for more, or does it go, how's it work?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, there could be a lot of changes between now and January of next year on this board even, or city council, or my office. So this is kind of going to be a good faith we have to budget for it every year. The utilities work in a very similar fashion on the way they do some of their pilot. So they pay portions of certain salaries for the city, and that's something that they have to reapprove and do every year. And so there's never a guarantee on any of these things. If a new redevelopment commissioner, a new mayor came in that did not agree with what the previous council had decided on wages, they have every right to change that. But as the redevelopment commission is appointed by the mayor, I would think that there would be some, synchronized efforts between the board and the administration. So I wouldn't imagine the redevelopment commission going back against, the mayor after an agreement like this had been done, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's going to have to be a year-to-year discussion as you guys go through your budget process and the city goes through theirs, and that's why I just wanted to get the process started now and maybe just have some conversations, individually with people about what a structure like this might look like as we're trying to finalize things on the city's end.
My question is, how do we raise the budget? Where's the money going to come from? From how many people we have living in the city? I mean, how's it?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Gonna increase? What's going on?
You've seen your balances, month over month are increasing based on the development, based on the assessed value going up. And eventually that'll turn back over to the city. So I think that's part of the thing too, is that some of your districts are nearing the end of their life cycle. I think we talked maybe 2031 for some of them. And so that assessed value, that incremental assessed value is going to return to the city anyway. And so that will increase, it's not going to all go to the city, but it will increase the city's budgets and revenues significantly as you guys, eventually take on different TIF districts in those areas. So downtown TIF district is probably going to look different going forward after 2031.
Yeah. I like the idea of getting a committee together to kind of talk it out, because I do think I can see the need for it, but I also see the long-term impact to development dollars that we won't have that forever will generate, recurring tax revenues. So, but at the same time, we need a safe place for people to want to have a business and build homes. So
if you don't have a safe place, you won't have a business.
Right.
I mean, that's,
So
I just you're not a citizen. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I'd like to get a committee together, because numbers I saw, I'd like to understand them too. Like, is it 100% of what you're talking about coming from us? Is that a small portion of it? Just so we can talk it out and understand it. That's what I'd like to see happen.
Yeah, so
I did read the emails, but I don't know if I caught everyone, and I just want to make sure I have good data.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know, who you guys would want to have on that discussion. I don't know, Dave, would you be amenable to having?
I'd be more than happy to talk about it. I'm like, I haven't seen any of these emails.
Okay. Yeah.
I came here this morning because out of plan, I found out we were going to have this discussion. I'm not quite sure how the finance committee got out of this conversation, but we were telling them all along we had a revenue numbers as far as what we really needed. I got them Friday afternoon. Spoke briefly with Mike a little bit yesterday. Personally speaking, and I don't know if you got a proposal for the fire department on wages. I've never seen anything from the fire department.
They sent that to the entire city council, I believe.
He sent some.
The wage proposal in the beginning, I think.
Never got any wage proposal. I got some comparison.
I sent a letter to the council. I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, I actually got it. I'm going to get a copy.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to get a proposal.
So like I said, all I can tell you is, the concerns, John Michael brought up concerns that I have very probably. It may be something that we do have to look at. I'm not going to deny that, but
We can't keep losing officers to the county.
Pardon?
Can't keep losing
No,
officers to
absolutely
the county.
not.
I mean, what kind of difference is there to move 4 blocks down the street?
Right now,
Over $15,000 difference.
How much?
$15,000.
Wow.
Adam Morrow's been here 20 years. He's going to leave here at $56,000. Take just off the top, take a $5,000 pay raise, and he's in the highest position. Besides the assistant chief of police right now, he's our patrol lieutenant. He will leave here after 20 years and start out approximately $5,000 to $6,000 more. Their patrol base salary is 60,000, our patrol base salary is 48,500. Budgeted for, and depends on where you look at it, salary ordinance, can I just come up there?
Yeah, oh, sure.
We're budgeted for by the salary ordinance of 41 officers. If you look at the numbers, it says 43, so you can kind of, depends on how you ask or who you ask. So with that, we're at 36 officers right now. Again, that's
36 officers with the flux of people we have coming every day.
Again, I don't know what that is, and this is the first time I've been to this meeting. I just heard already that there's potential of building new homes, several, which means there's going to be a potential of a lot more people moving in our community. I can tell you this is not just Logansport. I am right now with probably over 150 police officers from all across the United States, Hawaii, everywhere else across the United States. It's an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
And there's low numbers, and departments are fixing that or trying to fix that with increased salaries. And that's just unfortunately the way it is right now. I don't have the answer for that, but I can tell you statistically looking across the board, that's what's going on.
Yep.
So that, again, when you compare it, the sheriff's department went to a $15,000 pay raise across the board. That's not including their jailers, their dispatchers, those other agencies within the county as well, which we don't have those. Well, we have other departments, but their sheriff's department itself increased very largely.
Substantial.
So I know the city and the county's separate, but how did the county come up with that much money over your department? I mean, that's what I'm saying, is the percentage is gonna change in the future, so you're not coming back to this board saying we need more money. I mean, something needs to evolve and change.
Very part of the issue is not just you, but Cliff knows county revenue is double the city's, if I'm not mistaken. County, was about, county with sheriff, I believe 20 deputies, sheriff. So we have half that revenue. And like Travis said, we've been working. It's not like we haven't.
Yeah.
We're shooting to get them up 39 people at competitive wages. Waiting on revenue numbers. You really don't know what you need till you talk. Numbers particularly Friday afternoon. I spoke with Travis. I thought we were going to sit down and have a meeting first this week. And I guess we went a little different direction. Not criticizing anyone. It is an issue that concerns not just the city, but our agency and all. Every year we go through this balance. How do we pay our people properly? In the minds of, from a council perspective, in the last 2 years we had gotten them up to where they were competitive with the county people. We didn't know that in August we were going to get all the people raised and all the do. You'll see part of how they do that in your next in your 2024 rates. They raised tax for emergency service capital raised.
So if you get these up, your salary for your officers, how long does that last? Do you go with, for instance, right now, they're saying that the average American household, $8,723 more per year is what we're spending on. Well, an officer that's making, what, 45, you said, or $48,000, oh my gosh. I mean, are we gonna have special housing for officers and teachers? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's something.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I've talked to the sheriff about this. He asked for this at the beginning of the year, his pay raise as well. Him and I have been in talks for a while now, but and we both came to agreement. Again, when fortunate enough to go around and talk to other agencies out, not just in Indiana, but outside the state of Indiana. And when you look at the 1977 certified salaries, there's 156, I believe, in the state of Indiana. We're 116, so we're what, 36 from the bottom in pay. We know that in 2 years we'll fall back into that gap because you have other agencies who are now in competition will do the same thing I'm doing and Rick's trying to do, is come to these boards and ask. This is new. This just got, for this year, the governor, I believe, just signed this into play. So this isn't something that we have known about for a while. This is something that just came up. And Dave and I have been talking. We talked last week, I believe, and we kind of went through our budgets, and one of the things I had brought up was asking the TIF board for funding. I just didn't know how that worked. I've never done it. I don't think anybody's done it. So that was one of my, when I went through our budgets of what I could give back and how I could save that money and to spend correctly of trying to give back out of my own budget to return that back to our officers. That was one of the things I had brought up already. So it's been on the table. How that went about as far as today, that has nothing to do with me. I'm not at work this week, but I was advised of the meeting, so I wanted to cut my day short where I was at and stop in just to make sure I was educated myself as far as how this worked as well, knowing that it was a new opportunity. So that's why I decided to be here.
So how are you going to attract an officer? How do you attract one?
You know, right now, Harry, I've never been on the side of recruitment. I'm on the side of retention. And this is how I look at it, and I've been in this now for almost 27 years between military and here, is if I have good retention, recruitment fulfills itself. If officers are happy and they're going out and they're professional, and they have the equipment and training they need, and they're being paid well, that's the best recruitment tool I can have. I don't have an answer for that. If I did, I guess across the country, I'd go to every department and try to work that in and sell books and make a lot of money. I don't know, but we're not the only department right now in the United States having those issues. What I don't want to see, though, is just officers up and leave. I have a young department already. I have 17 officers with 6 or less years on. That's half of the department right now. At 36 officers, that's 17 officers. I'd have to go through the numbers, but you have 5 officers that's eligible for retirement out of 36. And then the number just kind of trickles. Almost 19 years on, the next officer below me will have 15. And then it just trickles down from there. So you're talking a very young department. If you have 2 or 3 of those guys retired to leave, and you're replacing them with brand new officers, it takes a year to get me an officer hired through everything, through the police academy and through our training program. So a police officer, I just can't hire off the street and put them to work. It's an extensive process to put them on the street. And then Mr. Lehman's in here. I'm sure not to put him on the spot, but you look at the issues that we've had as law enforcement over the last 4 years. It's important. The lawsuits, they come a lot, unfortunately, but that's kind of the name of the game right now. So you have a lot of people shying away from this career right now.
Travis, what's the difference between someone that's a couple years out from retirement and someone newly onto the force?
In pay?
Yeah.
It depends on their rank. Right now, I can just give you a rundown. Your first year is going to be $48,500, and then your next year is patrolman. And let's say you don't take any promotions. You'll be at $51,383 from year 2 to year 19. Plus, we have longevity as well, so you have longevity that you can add in there, 150 times the years of service, which is across the board with all city employees. So if you hired on, you want to be a patrol officer your whole career, you're going to be at $51,383.
Plus the longevity.
Generically speaking, without pay raises, those types of things. Our corporal, which is a supervisory position, and our detectives would bump up to $54,200, and a sergeant $55,550, and then a lieutenant $56,315.
Okay.
Just as an example, and again, I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse, but a 2-year deputy at the sheriff's department will be at $64,490. That's $4,000 more than the assistant chief of police makes. About $1,200 less than the chief of police makes. So this is just an example.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it makes sense to get together and have some conversations and see what we can.
Yeah, and I share, the same kind of concerns about, longevity, sustainability when it comes to this board and the funding. But I think that the way that the TIF has been run historically in Logansport is not kind of the way that it's run elsewhere, where it's more used for kind of long-term bonding capacity, rather than, just kind of funding the programs and things like that. I know we've used it that way for like the hotel and the junction, and some of it back, but really utilizing the TIF to help the bonding piece of it. So that's why I think our existing funds and the money that we have coming in from some of these shorter-term TIF districts, I think are more open to these types of things, to fund the programs, to also maybe help fund some public safety wages. And as we move forward as a TIF board, and we do some of the area along the riverfront, I think it makes a lot of sense to do when it's ready to be developed, to do as an entirely new TIF district and bond some of the public improvements that we need in the area based on that, rather than just do a general large TIF and collect the increment tax to, throw it at a project like the, event center. I think the consolidated has a little more time on it, but if you, bond the event center just by itself, not that you would, but, you get pretty close to what the TIF board is putting into it, just from their own funds. So it's just a little bit of a different way of looking at it. But I think if you guys can get a couple of people that are interested in, discussing this going forward, and let's get together, council and some of the chiefs, to see what we can come up with on it.
Sounds like we have to do that.
Yeah. I'm in favor of that committee, just to provide some historical measures. This feels funny to me. When we had State Board of Accounts in here this year, they were bitching that Dwayne was getting paid to help us with the bookkeeping and all the gateway and all that kind of stuff. And they were against that, and nobody here gets paid. We volunteer to do this. All of a sudden, once the state raises the rates on state troopers, it seemed like as if all of a sudden they realize they've got a problem, and they open up this interesting, the RDC, which I say always is the last place that people come. The legislators opened, where it was bad to pay someone that takes care of all the record keeping and financing with our group. Now they're saying, well, we're thinking for first responders, police and fire, that opens that up. We at one point bought trees for downtown. Nobody would take care of them, so we paid for maintenance. We got in trouble because we were actually paying for ongoing maintenance. They said, no, you guys need to do sewers and lights and sidewalks, permanent fixtures. So this is kind of an interesting change that I see from the state side, saying, hey, we got a problem out there, maybe fix it with RDC. Beyond that, I have some concerns in the fact that we're seeing, Bill mentioned today a $200,000 cost override for Lexington Village. Okay, you guys are thinking you need about $300,000 from us. Perry asked about the Chase Davis project. If all of a sudden, and they say, on one of the other hats I wear, I'm the school representative for the Parks Department. They all believe that they're going to get a raise too, because if the police get a raise, and then I assume the firemen are saying, I don't know, are the fire districts giving you guys problems with wages? Are they making more than you guys are?
There's only one other big department in the county, and that's the fire district. They do not.
Okay, but I assume that, I assume in some places this must be a problem because I'm seeing the legislature change was police and firemen can come out of RDC, not Parks Department, not Street Department, not employees and stuff. So I presume that same problem that's trickling down through the state is not just in police, but it's also in fire also. And say in the note that we got from the mayor, he was talking about us supporting raises to both police and fire. Again, that's why I think we have a committee, because and all the cemetery workers think they're going to get a raise too, because if the police get this, then we should get. And I know it's different. I know that, and I know that first responders are an essential part of economic development, because if you don't have it,
nobody's going to be moving here.
Right. And it's
the first thing people say when they come here with the real estate part of it. They look at our crime rate.
Right.
The next thing public safety.
There's also places in the country where people are looting stores, and the community for a while said, "Oh, that's great," and defund the stupid stuff, in my opinion, because it was going to get common sense. But I do think we need to also, I mean, it worries me, we have multiple things hanging out there. I mean, Aaron brings in 3 pieces of property today, and if all of a sudden we start giving $300,000 a year, and they say, well, just 2 more years. We also don't have, as I say, my history here is a little longer than Jacob's. I started out as the school representative on this board probably, I don't know, well, it was back in, before Franklin's time. So I saw the mayor come through and clean house and get rid of every single member, put the city council on the TIF board. I was left because I was a school representative, and so they let me stay because I was appointed by the school, not by the mayor or city council. And at that time, at one point, we had a case where they were going to give, I guess it was Little Turtle was going to do the restrooms. They gave us $65,000 for restrooms down at Little Turtle, and then all of a sudden, the mayor's changed. That they got rid of all the board members. They decided that they wanted to use that building, this old Salvation Army building, for the police for a weight room or whatever. And then all of a sudden, so then Little Turtle pulled their money out. So I've seen, it's easy to say, yeah, it's going to be great and hunky-dory and fine. I've seen some situations that didn't seem quite kosher. But again, that's the mayor and the city council's prerogative to say, you guys serve at our pleasure. If they don't like any of us, we can all be gone, which, that would in some cases save me a lot of time. So I think, my concern is I think we have a committee because, it's easy to say in an election year, it's all going to be fine. This will be a one-time use of money. We don't know that for sure. There's some things that I talked to Dave yesterday about, with Lexington Village. Who's going to maintain that? We've put the ball rolling, and now all of a sudden we expect the street department to take care of that. Before the houses are built, who's going to cut the grass? Where's that money going to come from? So, that's a case where, we have 4 or 5 things with an unsure future of where the money's going to come from. And it worries me that again, in my history, there was a point that the mayor came to us, in not too far away future, not this administration, but the light poles on the boardwalk were all rusted, and they were broke, and they asked us to buy the lights up there, and we did. And just as soon as we bought the lights, all of a sudden they had that's what we were told. Hey, you got to help us out here. And then it's like we got kind of slapped in the face by saying, well, yeah, you saved us that money, but we've got So I've seen, words are great, and I say, and I appreciate, I love first responders. I'm not talking against it. I also am worried that, if we've got Lexington Village, we've got a bond there. If we get this thing going and we sell one house the first year instead of, we got 62 houses to sell, we have to pay the bond, whether there's 62 houses or there's 1 house or no houses. And so, that worries me to say, okay, we're gonna. I hope that it happen. I hope that they finish up there. We got 40 people dying to build a house up there. But if all of a sudden this $300,000 we give for this purpose, we needed that to make a bond payment, who's going to help us? Can we go back and ask all the city employees to give us, to donate money so we can get paid for our bond payment? We have a responsibility there too. And I just, for the first time in our history, we've got a lot of unknown factors in our future that I just want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible. I mean, we've been asked to be stewards of those projects, and so I'm just nervous. And that's why I think we need to have a committee because, say this just. We got a letter 2 days ago and said, hey, what about this? And to say, and then I talked to Dave and he wasn't in the loop. And so I think we need to get in the loop and have some meetings about it. But to say, again, I just, we have functioned really well at trying to bring economic development. And I say, just the weird way the state board of accounts treated us last year on just wages, Dwayne's wage, it was like $500, a quarter. So it's $2,000 a year. They were on our rear end about that, how that was wrong, and you shouldn't do that, and he should donate his time to do that. to go from that $2,000 is a big deal in wages. Now they're saying, oh, it's okay. You guys can fund, the police and firemen. Wait a minute, what happened here? Because in a way, wages are very much like once you get that raise, that's forever. It's not going to say, well, we can't afford to give it now, so we're going to give everybody a pay cut a year later. That's impossible. You know what that would do to your staff. So I just want to make sure that I think the committee's good. I think it's good that we get together because, as I say, we have some issues too that, again, and we do get people, we seem to be the place everybody comes to for stuff. But I just want to make sure that we're all together. And again, it can match when the city council changes, finance committee changes, mayors could change. All those kind of things are things, and again, and then very easily, they get rid of all of us and just say, okay, we're going to get all new RDC with the next mayor or whatever, which I say, I'm okay with that. But we got a machine that's running and I just don't want to screw that up. So anyway.
Quickly chime in.
Yeah.
That's on these emails. I think everybody want first responders to be competitive pay, and I think we can get there. We fight the same thing as schools. Take out police officers and insert teachers. We have shortages, retention issues, competitive pay. Nobody wants to be in the industry anymore. Does that sound like a police officer or a teacher, right? Yeah. So we have a plan that we're going to get there this year, but we only got there because we all got together and talked about it, and everybody was transparent about, here's all the numbers, everybody involved, here are the needs. Because ultimately, you guys are all in the same pot of money. It's just how it gets there. So you all need to be included. Unfortunately, it's kind of 11th hour, but it's not too late. I think this committee would be great because there's a lot of smart people in this room, I think, that we could probably figure something out if we just put down, here it is. With the teachers, we go, here's our money. We ain't hide anything. We want to get to X. How are we going to get there? We all work together to get there. I think that's kind of I'm not saying anybody on purpose is doing it. Just from a lay person sit back there, this person knows this, and this person doesn't know that. You don't know the numbers and how the numbers get there. If we get everyone on the same page, I think we can probably work something out.
My biggest thing is how does the numbers get there? Where's the percentage come from? I'm out here, we're doing a lot. Our real estate company is doing a lot. Memmy's leading the pack, has all year long. There's a reason behind it. We're dealing with that many people. So I can tell you from the front line of it, what percentage we have coming in here, what they're looking at, and if we don't have this piece of the puzzle, we won't have this. You don't have to worry about Lexington because it's not going to be. We're going to have to sell one house because nobody wants to live there because we have safety problems, and that's where I'm at, and that's why I'm saying. So we do have all these people move in. Does our percentage go up so we can get more money funded into the city for the, the fire, for the police, for the safety part of it, and then all this other puzzle over here that we have to have. How do we get more money?
It's all part of the piece of the pie of why you guys need to better understand your general budget operations. Because yes, I would say on people looking to commute here, come here, or do business, it's a top 3 thing. Housing, workforce development, day of care, crime rate, we're all in that top 5 that I get questions about. So it's very important. And having a family here is important to me. My dad was a fireman, it's very important to me. But you got to make sure you can afford certain things. And you got to look at everybody's piece of the pie. And what does that mean for the dollars coming in 2025? Because we fight that with SROs for the schools. We hired Danny Ferris. I'm not going to fire him next August because we had to split the money that the city council gave us. We have to make sure we can sustain that. So yeah, you look at assessed values, how that works, how our funding works at schools is per head. So you got to look at all of that. I think this group, along with city council and Travis and Rick or whoever, I'm pretty sure you guys can come up with a pretty good plan to get there now or get there soon. People don't know all the pieces.
I think that's the problem.
Well, I think projections is huge to me.
Well, and here's a piece, it's like Bill said, just because we're not, this is the first talk, is, for me, it's not asking you guys to fund my entire pay raise. That's not fair. Just sitting here in my notes, I've already talked with Dave, and when I went through our budgets and looked at things, I have to look at prices of vehicles and gas and what we did last year compared to this year. I have approximately $158,000 already set aside out of my budget to help with that pay raise. All I can do. I'm also not replacing two positions. What that's worth, we could go ask payroll as well. So I'm not saying, I'm not asking, hey, council or you guys, hey, I need $300,000 to make this pay raise work. I'm also giving some as well out of ours, which is going to be our 2 new vehicles that we may or may not need. I got a vehicle right now, the whole transmission went out. Now I'm gonna have to come up with money. I lost a vehicle, had an engine. So there's other things that I'm doing as well. I can't speak for any other department that I'm willing to say, hey, I'll meet in the middle as well. So not just say, give me, 300,000 or whatever it is. I don't even know that number is an example. Hey, I need $200,000 because I need pay raises. No. I'm willing to sit down and work with this to make this happen for these officers on this department. Not only them, but for the citizens as well. So
Back and forth.
it has, absolutely, yeah.
I felt having this meeting, I think the best thing that comes out of this meeting is just an awareness. See that, number one, this is an avenue to be looked at. Number two, that make it happen. And, when I told Mike yesterday, when I finally got the numbers, I could tell you two things. Terry, you hit on housing. Our circuit breaker actually went down for the first time in 5 years. What that means is we didn't lose as much revenue that we should have gotten if there weren't a cap on top of that. That number went down for the first time I've been in the only time it's happened. So that's a good sign for what's happening. And the other one was the fact, you can look at interest rates in the past. From a city perspective right now, because we've done a good job, you guys see on the interest rate, the city's a huge up in that revenue. Now, it's not any more sustainable than asking you guys for $250,000. But we know, we sent an email to the bank. Good news is your rate goes up to 5.25 first, along with all the city accounts and the utility. They looked at it, stay there for 6 months. Right there was the money we needed basically to fund the police department. And with all the work that Emmett had done to get them up to scale, was basically exactly the same as the counties. It's a difference of about 600, what did we come up with, 630,000 or 40,000? And that was with the things that we helped limit. I mean, you're talking about raising officers' pays a lot, but the thing that I told Travis is, and I got nervous, I'll be honest with you, I got nervous to start showing these numbers to everybody. I said, we got to find the revenue. I'm a little bit more nervous about those things. He was, I think, excited about the fact that we come up with something. I don't begrudge him that, because he didn't want to lose it. And, we didn't realize the county would, when Ed Schroeder went to the county, he thought they'd start January 1, the right way. So that was unfortunate from our point of view. But between the interest we're going to draw, the fact that the circuit breaker actually went down for the first time in probably 8 years, our revenue was up much more than what the first number they were given us. So, what I'd say is I think we have the revenue to cover everybody. I don't know what the fire department's asking for, so I don't want to say too much. But, I had in mind a number for them too.
Just with this city, because I work on a lot of different homes, the fire department is extremely important to me too, because I'm the one that's going in there and looking at stuff going, wow, this didn't burn down. So, and nothing against the fire department, but, I have a restaurant down the street, and I swear that siren's going off, it seems like 5 times a day. So they're going someplace. So, I mean, safety it's a huge thing of the city, of the age of the city, and how many old things we have. So the fire department's just, I mean, it's pretty important. Everything's important.
Yeah.
Or we don't have a city.
Well, if you look at budgeting, I think everyone agrees that public safety.
Yep. So Mike, will you send out a request for committee and we can get
Yeah.
something scheduled? Okay.
Yeah, we'll see who wants to be involved in this. I think that, and I think we need to look at the education of the community too. When I heard the raises for the county, again, I'm on the Parks Board for the school board, so I understand the school board side of some of this kind of stuff. I started telling, we got people, the historical people in town that think we should spend $250,000 or $500,000 to redo the pavilion at Spencer Park. And I said, you're nuts, because the effect I said the city has no choice but to raise the levels of the first responders because, competition. And then people are going, yeah, we love that building. I'm like, and I actually talked to one of the mayoral candidates that backed out there and said, what are you going to do? And he, now he didn't get his paperwork turned in, but, I said, you're out there, hey, save this pavilion. It's going to cost, the city should have spent $500,000 to keep this thing, to redo this thing and make it, and I'm like, it's a pavilion. Fire, police, essential, pavilion, keeps the water off in a picnic. We can build a small for $50,000. They want $500,000 to make it historical. We're gonna have to make some decisions in the community on that kind of stuff, which is to say, we all love things, and we're a part of the community, part of the past, part of the history. But we have to start making some choices. Okay, so you'd rather have a pavilion than they're wanting more money for that pavilion than what you're asking the RDC for wages for the police and fire. What's wrong with this picture? And I just think that social media, the way it is, people are just out there, oh yeah, we love this, and like as if money isn't thing. And I know the effect of tax caps from the schools and what just, and what our tax rates are and all that kind of stuff, and where we are compared to other communities, but we can't get it lower unless we lower everything down, but we can't lower it down if we get these needs. So yeah, we'll put the thing out and see. We probably can only have 2 people probably on that committee, I think, with the open door policy. Or we could always have a special session too. If we get everybody wanting to get involved, we can have a special session or something. But
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry that I missed the earlier part of the meeting. Did you get my email on the interest? Okay.
yes,
Okay, just before it got approved and moved on.
we mentioned it 1,000 times.
No, I don't know how you keep it all straight, but I do find that.
John,
Hey, hang on a minute, hang on. I have a question and then a statement.
Okay.
Chief, the benefits, where do we sit with benefits? Are we,
As far as,
as benefits from the county and the city?
well, so and it could be, we could get in a long discussion with this too, Mr. Donovan, so I'll kind of go over. Their retirement rate, their retirement's better. We are based on what's called a patrolman first class. No matter if I stay the chief for the next 20 years or the next year, the day I retire at a single rate, a base rate. They retire at the average of the 3 highest years, which includes all the overtime they make, whatever. So their retirement's better. They don't pay into their, Dave, correct me, they don't pay into their pension. They do pay into Social Security, which we don't as law enforcement, as municipal police departments. We don't pay into Social Security, so that is a negative in long term. One of the benefits that we do have as a city is they don't, is the day that I retire, I can take my insurance with me at a different rate. I don't know what that rate is, and they don't have that option as far as insurance after retirement. But their retirement rate is based off their 3 highest years. Ours is a flat rate no matter what you make. And I was trying to think of some of the other things. We have a drop program that's,
When you're going to 3 years in advance, all that money that put it on towards your pension.
You can-
When you leave, put into an account. We looked at possible policemen that might leave soon for retirement, we have just shy of $100,000.
So the state does it through our retirement program, through perf, they just freeze their perf, and then they get it all in one lump sum. But you have to be 20 years old and 52 years old in order to.
So I guess the short answer is it's pretty close to being,
Depends, because it depends on how you look at it. Because
Right.
if you have a guy down there that makes, their retirement's better based on the money they make. Yeah, they can make, X amount of dollars, and they're gonna take the 3 highest years of payment and take that as a retirement. They also can retire 8 years. We have to stay 20 to receive our pension. They lock theirs in after 8 years, which they changed that a few years ago, based upon the election of the sheriff. He stays 8, he gets gets a retirement from them. So, there's plus and minuses to both of it.
all right.
So the insurance, they do not pay. Health insurance.
After they
retirement or
After
current?
retiring.
They pay.
Their age.
They pay their insurance, and I have that, I have that information there somewhere, I just had it pulled up. Their insurance, when I looked at it, is, and I don't know what ours is, I don't have ours to compare it, but a family medical plan is employee contributions $180, and employee contributions $180, and in the county pays 93.2% of that. So I'd have to look at it. Employee contributions a year is $2,160. I don't know what that is on that side. You have that handy? I don't know.
Not to be biased, just asking.
Yeah, no, this is comparison, yeah.
Which position currently in loans we're sitting in currently, you feel that is, you think the county's in a better position to have somebody go there and work? Or is it the city? And what I'm saying is the influx of different people we have in the city compared to the county. How could you keep an officer from going over there because they feel the benefit of being over there is a lot less stressful than it is in the city?
I've never worked.
That makes sense.
I've never worked for the county, so that's kind of a hypothetical question, I guess, too, is, again, I just had an officer leave here and went over there. He's getting a pay raise the moment he leaves here. He's 44 years old. He can't draw a Logan Sports. You can't draw a police pension until you're 52. So he has to freeze his pension for 8 years. As far as, if you look at the county in general, and you look at the population, you get, the county, I don't know, is what, around 39,000 maybe total. Logan Sports, what, last census 18. I would say the city is more diverse than what the surrounding, Royal Center, Walton, Galveston, those areas are. I don't know. It just depends on how you look at it. They have a lot more miles they have to drive as far as going call to call. They're going to work with less officers. I know that's a downside. When you go to a bad call and you have 3 or 4 other officers there, it's a little bit better. When you have one officer and you're that officer and your backup could be across the county, I'm sure that's a little bit more difficult.
Only reason I was asking is like it would be good to be.
If wages are equal, I think we have a good story to tell about working here versus working somewhere like that.
Well, that was my statement, is that I've been through this in the utility with linemen. And, it was just gonna be a mass exodus if we didn't pay them.
Honestly, I think if the sheriff had 5 positions open, I'd have 5 guys apply.
Yeah.
That's what, I can tell you, I've been here for almost 19 years, and in the last 7 years or so, I'd have to look at the numbers, we've lost 3 officers to their department. They've never lost an officer to ours.
And you're down like 6 people from what you want to be?
Correct.
So even if we get waged the same, do you see those 6 positions being filled from the county coming the other way, or you think that we'll never win that battle?
I don't think I'll lose a guy from there to here. Again, I think because the way we are at PERF now, able to advertise to like other PERF related agents that has the same retirement plan
So surrounding
Peru,
communities rather than.
Kokomo, those type of things. I mean, you know, you could call other departments and ask them how many applications they're getting or how many lateral transfers they're getting from other departments. And right now, that seems to be the goal is to take this person from that
Right.
department, you know, offered.
We have a Kokomo police car that lives right around the corner from me. So
Right.
they're living here, working in Kokomo. If all things are equal, you know, what makes more
Right.
sense to you?
Peru officer lives in Logansport too. I mean, so when you see those, you know, it's an attraction. I mean, they're living here for a reason. And I don't know what that reason may be.
I can tell you that Jacob and everybody on the city council, if something like this would happen, you guys are gonna have to brunt a lot of problems because you're gonna have guys that are working for the Parks Department want to know why they can't get a raise. You're gonna want to know why anybody that didn't get a raise.
Go play in the police station.
Yeah.
Come on out. I understand that. I do, I understand that, but it's something you gotta do, you gotta do.
Yeah, it's just a matter of this funding mechanism is only available
So
for these
public
departments.
safety. That's
So
why
that-
it was an idea to ask, is why.
I think they deserve, you know, we're behind inflation in in all of our departments. I think that there's some differences between what we're asking from the fire department and what we're asking from the police department. Police department is trying to stay competitive regionally so that we don't lose more people and maybe attract some of these people that we can get. Theirs is part of that they're behind regionally.
And that's kind of what that brings up a point, because I completely understand. I mean, the other departments within the city are going to be, oh, public safety's getting this, why are we only getting this? With that being said, it's about a competitive wage, and the police department's proposed a larger raise than the fire department. It's a competitive wage. I propose a 7% raise in dental and longevity is what my proposal is. When you look at competitive wages, we are, in the fire department, out of 124 fire departments in the state of Indiana, we're 104.
Out of 124.
Yeah, we're 104 out of 124 departments across the state of Indiana. Now, we can't compare Logansport to Lafayette, West Lafayette, I get it. But what I'm competing with is my guys. I've been chief since 2020. I've had 9 guys in my department. Some retired, others have went other places. But I still lost. I'm in a 34-man department. I still lost over a third of my department. So I've got 9 guys with less than 5 years of experience. They're chasing the dollar, bottom line. So when I say, you know, the other departments, the Parks Department, Cemetery, Street Department, I get it, you deserve a raise. But their departments are more competitive with Frankfurt, you know, Kokomo, Rochester, Wabash, Peru. We're not. Out of the I've got 7 departments: Peru, Monticello, Wabash, Huntington. They make more than their base pays more than ours. Peru Fire Department retires at a higher base pay than ours. So I compromise on my proposal because I understand the sheriff's department can give the raise. There's not another big fire department in this city, in the county. There's a fire district, but it's not fair to compare them to us. But I have guys that are, I've got 6 guys with applications at Oklahoma Fire Department right now. They're hiring 10 guys next year. I talked to their fire chief. My fear is my 9 guys that's got less than 6 years, in the next year I could have 14. I mean, it's a necessary evil. I mean, it's from an administrator looking at it, I can't replace that experience. So I mean, getting back going on, but getting back to your question, I agree other departments, but I also look at the competitive wage of what other departments are.
Yeah, and my statement though is just that
Yeah,
you guys are gonna have to brunt that problem,
And not, yeah, I agree.
not us.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things going on. Is trying to get them up to compete, but also we're behind inflation everywhere. The entire city is not even close to inflation over the last couple of years, based on what your wage was in let's say 2020 versus what it is now and what that, buys. So there's kind of a twofold thing. This is just a unique situation on the police side, but we have to get everybody up, and to inflation at some point, or we're going to be letting our employees fall behind. And that's why I think the TIF board's ability to help out with these departments might open the door for some of the other departments to be able to at least get a cost of living adjustment or some type of, inflation.
Well, I hope that you understand, I'm
100%.
I'm not against it.
I was gonna say, I talked to a retired guy too a while back, and talked about the linemen. They told me about what happened years ago, and linemen said, hey, we can go work over here for X amount of dollars. It sounded like they were all gonna leave, and you guys had to make an adjustment in order to keep those. And that's the thing too, is just like Rick too, he has X amount of guys leave, I have X amount of guys leave. It takes a long time to get an officer on the road, and they have to go through certain training as well. It's nice to be able just to hire that officer, that firefighter from those departments, and they can come in here, just learn our system and work. They're already certified by the state on our side. I'm not 100% sure how they work. If not, if I hire a new guy, we don't know now, because it's changed because of COVID and the academy shut down and things like that, is if I hire a guy today, I don't know when I can send him to the police academy. It could be a year from now. So he could be and I have to hire him because he gets an academy date based upon his actual date of hire. We used to wait about 2 weeks out. We'd give him a name, and then 2 weeks out, we'd come swear him in the Board of Works, and then we send him off to the academy. I don't have that luxury now. I have to hire them because there's a running list, and that name now goes on that list of that date. I have to send it to the academy, and then he waits based upon that hire date. Could be a year from now. We don't know. It just depends on how the academies are, or how it's filled up and the rotation goes. So those are issues hiring new officers as well. We have applicants. We've ran an open process now for over a year and a half. We're still 36 officers. And I tell everybody, I have applications, doesn't mean I have applicants. So that's another thing we look at too, because I have to fit the mold. I won't lower standards to hire a police officer to work here in the city of Logansport with the potential of what could happen. I'm not gonna, I will not put that, and I've seen it in some of these larger cities of how they've, some of the laws that's passed and some of the things that's happened where they've lowered standards to put their numbers up, and I won't do that to our citizens.
So the thing that I'm looking at too is these two guys could be replaced. Couple months, they're gone. They're done with their position. But they're still here fighting for their guys, their departments, because they're not where they need to be as far as the money goes. And I can appreciate that too. Hopefully they're not gone, but if they're gone, then, they're trying to move forward their department. I think that's a big deal. Both the guys' part.
Here's the thing too, Rick could retire today. I can retire October of next year. We're both citizens in this community too.
Yep.
On that backside is, I want to know when I retire from this job, when I hit 911, that the highest trained, best equipment, most professional police officer shows up at my door to save my family. That's how I look at it. But when we go, and Rick and I have been on the same page, when we go to ask council for items, equipment, it's not for our guys to play with. It's fun to play with it, but it's for you. It's for the citizens. I want to make sure that they come there well prepared, not come there and stand around and go, what should we do now, or call another department in. And that's what I think we've been successful at doing with the help of the council as well. When we've asked for equipment, they've given us that equipment, and they've understood the need of that equipment, that training to be a professional public safety for our community. So,
That's huge.
What's that?
What he's saying, having the right, I mean, he can retire and he can retire and he's still here fighting.
Right.
I like that. So thanks, guys.
thank you.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
Hey, Mike. Any board member comments?
No.
No comments from me.
Next meeting is,
All said Red Was sending over food.
Yeah.
The ship is technically said it's free.
City Council Board is-
Hey, we're not paying for it.
all right, this meeting's adjourned.
I'll be on that.
Was your milk good the other day?
Yeah,
You
yeah, it was.
You understand more about
He does take a lot of pride in his food.
this kind of issue.
I've had good food
I
every
lived it.
Yeah.
This stuff is
What's on the special today?
And most of the